Hi everyone, so this is my second video on Eduqas English Language Component 2, the reading section. If you've not watched my video on the first section of that paper, which is questions 1-1, 1-2, or questions 1 and 2, however you call them, go ahead and watch that because it's got some key things. We're going to have a look at the two reading questions that are on the second extract. Before I do that, we're going to go through a couple of really important reminders. So, big reminder, this paper is 2 hours long. You have 2 non-fiction texts to read, 6 questions on them in total, and then 2 non-fiction texts to write. There's a lot to do. Also, this paper is worth 60% of your overall GCSE grade because it is weighted more strongly. The reason we love that is because this paper is more concrete. Yes, there is a lot of questions to answer, but as you'll see as we go through the reading section, it is more tangible, it makes more sense, it is easier to do the exam methodology in the exam hall. So, question 1-3 or question 13 is exactly the same as question 11 or question 1 on this paper. So it's a 3-part question. It's worth 3 marks. You have about 5 minutes to get these facts found and move on to the 10-mark question. So exactly the same. You write the question number in the margin, read the question carefully, scan for that information and simply write the answer. Unlike on component 1, where your 1-mark questions need to be written in sentences, that isn't the case for question 2. You can simply write, if they're asking you for a number, you write the number 4. If they're asking you for how long it takes, you write how long it takes. So make sure you're doing that because that will save you a ton of time. All right, then we've got question 1 for question 14, which is almost exactly the same as the other 10-mark question that you've just answered on this paper. It is your 10-mark question. You have about 15 minutes to do it, and like question 12, it requires you to gather a range of information from the text. So the only difference with this question to question 12 is that you have a statement at the beginning, and it is normally a statement that it is designed for you to agree with. You do not have to give a balanced argument. What they want you to do is find evidence to support whatever your argument is going to be. So read the statements. Do you agree or disagree with the statements? And then you write your very simple I agree completely with the statement, or I disagree. And then you do exactly the same as we did for question 12, which is you go through the text in order and you find 10 quotes that support your view of the statement, and you put them in with a very little inference explanation. Just like the previous question, 10-mark question on this paper, you should be able to write 10 sentences and get 10 marks. There's no faffing about with deeper meanings like you have on paper 1. So you've got your agree or disagree statement, then you've got your 10 pieces of evidence with your little inference, and I'm going to read you this one because I'm going to show you how the marks are picked up in a minute. So I completely agree that the writer paints a vivid picture of the difficult conditions. That you need your agree or disagree statement, you need it 1 time, it's not getting you any marks, but it has to be there. Firstly, the writer sets the scene for the rescue by describing a stormy, cold afternoon. So it's a vivid picture of the difficult conditions because the writer is setting the scene. The difficult conditions are highlighted by the constant heavy rain that fell in blinding torrents. It was also very windy, which must have made the rescue difficult, as a gale drove the waves, and then I've put ... because I don't want to copy out the whole thing, with a fury. The writer shows that hardly anyone would dare to go out to sea in that weather because they needed the full strength of the most experienced boatmen. The weather continued to make it difficult as there was a ferocious storm. The sea is described as foaming. So you can see there that this answer has got the agree or disagree statement, and then it's gone through and found loads of quotes that would show that it is describing a very difficult conditions for a rescue at sea, and it's simply putting those in and describing in a very basic fashion how that would make the rescue difficult. So let's see how many marks this one would have get. So like I said, you only need your agree or disagree statement, doesn't actually get you any marks, and then we are basically ticking off the quotes that you've used that support the idea that it's difficult conditions, and that you've said something very basic about how that it makes it seem like a vivid picture of the difficult conditions. So we've got stormy afternoon, and that is setting the scene for the rescue. We've got fell in blinding torrents, and we've said difficult conditions, heavy rain shows you know what that means. Very windy, which would make the rescue difficult, and it says a gale drove the waves with fury, so that's your third mark. The writer shows that hardly anyone would go out, and so you had to have an experienced boatman. The weather continued to make it difficult because it was a ferocious storm, and the sea is described as foaming, and so you can see here that in those 6 sentences there are 6 marks awarded, and that is simply what you need to do for the 10-mark questions on this paper. All right, so next up with our videos, we are going to do the 2 comparison questions, 15 and 16, and then of course we need to look at the 6 non-fiction writing tasks which you need to be ready for.